Hello, my name is Jenna and I am a high school junior at Singapore American School. Today, I'll be going over the contents of my research, titled What Predicts Academic Performance? Exploring the impact of social and mental health factors on achievement. Historically, education and academia have been the foundation of human evolution. However, contemporarily, educational performance and achievement is not simply affected by individual exertions placed into studying. Recent studies have found that there are numerous mediators to this relationship, where academic performance is impacted by a myriad of factors. One known contributor to poor academic success is corroding mental health. In a 2015 American College Health Association survey, college students reported that stress, anxiety, sleep difficulty, and depression adversely influenced academic performance. Another study by Agnafors et al. Underscored that exposure to substance abuse or depression-related hospitalization could augment possibilities of dropping out of school altogether. As for another variable, social factors, among e-learning students, individuals living in dilapidated or disadvantaged households performed worse academically, particularly if these families were low income. Correspondingly, research by Lung et al. In 2021 found students experiencing insecurities in all three basic needs, food, finances, and housing, were substantially more likely to encounter poor academic performance. While previous studies have reinforced insights into the relationship between mental health and social factors with academic performance independently, the potential mediating relationships between them remain unclear. Existing research has focused on a limited set of variables, leaving the broader, more complex relationships between these factors underexamined. Taken together, there were three objectives to my research. My first objective was to identify correlations between mental health and social variables with academic achievement. The variables in consideration were anxiety, depression, and stress for mental health factors, and living conditions, basic needs, social support, and safety for social factors. Second, I aimed to explore the extent to which mental health factors mediated the impact of social variables on performance. My final object was to analyze these relationships to form broader connections about the modern day academic environment and its related components. Mental health factors are complex variables that interconnect to influence an individual's mental health and can encompass mental disorders. Mental disorders refer to cognitive disruptions governing one's conduct, cognition, or emotional control. Though mental health variables span many dimensions, including biological and social factors like genetics and diet, this study focuses solely on anxiety, depression, and stress, as they are the most prevalent and well-documented mental health factors affecting students, as demonstrated across prior research. Whereas investigating genetics-related mental health factors requires further clinical expertise that I did not have access to. Additionally, social factors are the societal and environmental factors that shape an individual's social situation, experiences, or conditions, and are social determinants of health. This study focuses solely on living conditions, basic needs, social support, and safety as social factors because they capture both material and interpersonal conditions that are related to academic performance. All other definitions for my variables can be found here. My hypothesis has two dimensions. First, given the existing research building on the presence of these two variables impacting the academic landscape, I hypothesized that both mental health and social factors would have significant correlations with academic performance, where improved variables correlated with improved achievement. Further, I hypothesized that mental health factors would mediate the relationship between social variables and achievement, indicating that these variables are much more intertwined than previous research suggests. Collectively, these explorations are expected to bring forth greater comprehension of how to effectively nurture students to maximize support for their academic success. My method involved a two-step quantitative research design with a Pearson's correlation test and mediation analysis. This is because continuous variables, where there is a significant correlation between the independent variable and the mediator, and the dependent variable, are recommended for a mediation analysis to be performed. Firstly, data collection was conducted by obtaining raw data from the publicly available dataset titled Student Stress Factors, a Comprehensive Analysis. The sample consisted of 1,100 high school and college student participants, originally recruited for examining a range of psychological, academic, social, and environmental factors that could potentially indicate the increased stress of a student. Recruitment procedures, inclusion criteria, and ethical approval were managed by the original study team. All data were anonymized prior to public release. Anxiety was measured through the Generalized Anxiety Disorder (GAD-7) questionnaire on a 7-item measure, rated on a 0 to 3 Likert scale with a total score ranging between 0 to 21. Depression was measured through a 9-item patient health questionnaire on a 0 to 3 Likert scale with a total scale ranging from 0 to 27. Higher scores, including a score of 10 or higher for both of the above variables, suggest evidence of potentially clinically significant anxiety or depression. Further, stress was measured on a 0 to 2 scale, where higher scores indicated high and repetitive stress. Living conditions, safety, and basic needs were assessed on a 0 to 5 scale, social support on a 0 to 3 scale, and academic performance on a 0 to 5 scale, reflecting indicators such as CGPA, cumulative grade point average. All of the above measures were self-administered and demonstrated acceptable reliability for a general population. As for data analysis, descriptive statistics and Pearson correlation coefficients were computed to examine the associations between social and mental health factors with academic achievement. Mediation analyses were conducted using the process macro for SPSS, a statistical analysis software, with 5,000 bootstrap samples to estimate indirect effects and 95% bias-corrected confidence intervals. An indirect effect was considered significant if the confidence interval did not include 0. All variables were mean-centered prior to analysis. The first table of my results showcases the individual correlations between social and mental health factors with academic achievement. Asterisks on the table signify p-values, of which one or more asterisks reflect p-values of less than 0.001, rendering this correlation statistically significant. As summarized by Table 1, there was a significant positive correlation between academic achievement and all variables. Next, a series of mediation analyses were conducted to examine indirect effects of various social factors on academic performance through 3 mental health-related mediators: anxiety, depression, and stress. Again, one or more asterisks indicate a statistically significant relation. The analysis revealed that the effect of all social factors on academic achievement was significantly mediated by anxiety, depression, and stress levels, with indirect effects for each mediator. The direct effect of such variables on academic performance remains significant, meaning the p-value is less than 0.001, indicating partial mediation. In investigating social and mental health factors' impact on academic achievement and their mediating relationships with one another, the results indicated that all examined variables significantly correlated with academic performance. These findings are consistent with prior research as discussed in the literature review. Further, anxiety, depression, and stress all partially mediated the relationship between social factors and academic performance. In sum, these results demonstrate the interrelated nature of social and mental health factors in predicting academic achievement instead of acting as independent entities. The above results underscore how living conditions, basic needs, safety, and social support influence academic success both directly and indirectly through their impact on mental health. Students in adverse social circumstances could experience greater psychological distress, subsequently impairing academic engagement and performance. The identified mediating effect suggests a need to consider mental health as an avenue through which adverse social environments affect educational achievement. Not surprisingly, former theoretical models also corroborate the connection between social and mental health influences. For example, the social causation theory posits that inverse relations between socioeconomic status with chronic stressors like financial insecurity, discrimination, and inadequate housing directly degrades one's mental health, especially with communities of low or middle income. Collectively, this social model stresses the connection between social and mental health variables, as further instanced by this current study. These results imply how institutions should consider holistically providing complementary, adequate resources like counseling and financial assistance to ensure comprehensive relief for all struggling individuals. More broadly, given that this is an understudied field, the results demonstrate opportunities to further explore the field of educational psychology as a whole. Thus, I have compiled some recommendations resulting from my research. Firstly, the above results demonstrate a need for active intervention by educators and parents to support vulnerable students. Struggling students could benefit from accessible resources, such as stress management intervention groups, which has been established as a prospective aid for the mental health of students. In addition, directly addressing the financial needs of students would also be crucial in targeting academic performance. In a study that compared students with and without scholarships, those who received scholarships became much more academically committed from the lessened economic barriers, and generally performed more successfully than students who had not obtained a scholarship. Lastly, I'd like to discuss some limitations. First, since our database did not feature information on the demographics of our participants, like gender, race, age, sexuality, and nationality, our results may not be globally representative, making it difficult to generalize. Similarly, correlation does not immediately entail causation, and statistical relations don't always translate to a causal association, especially since a cross-sectional dataset was used. Future analyses should investigate how distinct demographic variables and cultural contexts alter the predictors and patterns of students' academic performance. Additionally, future variables should also include other elements like academic motivation, parental mental health history, trauma-related variables, and sociopolitical stressors, which are also common determinants of behavior. Where anxiety, depression, and stress partially mediate the connection between social factors and academic performance, it's clear that a student's circumstances influences their mental well-being, and subsequently their learning, informing the nuances of educational research. Ultimately, by addressing these broader variables, institutions can more valuably promote equitable academic success. Thank you. Here are my references.